I refused to watch over my sister's kids. So she stuck them in a cab headed straight to my address anyway, except the driver messed up. 3 days later, I received the call that shattered her. I never thought a wrong address could shatter my entire world. But that Saturday morning, one phone call changed everything, and there was no turning back. The cool, crisp air of the morning was thick with the promise of a quiet day, but the ringing of my phone cut through it all, a jarring intrusion. I was just settling into my coffee, running through notes for a conference I'd looked forward to for months, when an unknown number flashed on the screen. My sister, Scarlett, always believed the world owed her convenience. Growing up, she was the golden child, while I just picked up the scraps of attention. My parents, Helen and Richard, made it clear Scarlett's needs always trumped mine. When she wanted my room, I moved to the basement. When she needed college money, my scholarship fund vanished into her tuition. I accepted it, naive, thinking family meant sacrifice. Scarlett married Michael at 24, a real estate developer who treated her like a queen. They had 2 kids, Emma, 8, and Leo, 5. I love those kids fiercely. They were innocent in all this, just children caught in adult dysfunction. The real trouble started about a year ago when Scarlett's me time became more frequent. Expensive spa weekends, shopping trips to Chicago, wine tastings in Malibu. She'd call me, expecting free childcare with barely an hour's notice, completely ignoring my full-time job as a financial analyst. I said yes too many times, and the pattern became unbearable. Last month, Scarlett called on a Thursday afternoon. I was in the middle of a critical presentation. My phone buzzed relentlessly until I finally excused myself. "I need you to watch the kids this weekend," she announced, no preamble. "I can't. I have plans." "Cancel them." "Michael booked us a surprise trip to Colorado, and we leave tomorrow." My jaw clenched. "Scarlett, I'm asking you to find someone else. I have a work commitment I can't reschedule." "You're so selfish," she hissed. "Family is supposed to help family. What's more important than your niece and nephew? This isn't about them. This is about you assuming I have no life." She hung up. I thought that was the end of it. Saturday morning arrived. I was still planning to attend my professional development conference downtown, something I'd registered for months ago. The session started at 9. My phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello? Is this the residence of, the person who lives at 847 Riverside Drive, apartment 12C? My stomach dropped. "Yes, this is she." "Who's calling?" "This is Officer David Chin with the Los Angeles Police Department. We have 2 minors here who were found alone outside an apartment building. They had a note with this address." Ice flooded my veins. "What? What are you talking about?" A taxi driver dropped off 2 children, approximately ages 8 and 5, at 847 Riverside Drive, but there's no apartment 12C in that building. It only goes up to 8 floors. The kids were left on the sidewalk. A neighbor called us. "Wait, I live at 847 West Riverside Drive, apartment 12C. Is the address on the note missing the West?" "Let me check the note." "Yes, it just says 847 Riverside Drive." The driver took them to 847 East Riverside, which is a completely different building across town. My hands shook so badly I nearly dropped the phone. "Oh my God, are they okay? Are they hurt?" "They're frightened, but physically unharmed." "Can you verify their identities?" "They say their names are Emma and Leo Brennan." "Yes, those are my niece and nephew." "Where are they now?" "At the 19th Precinct Station. We need a guardian to pick them up immediately." I grabbed my keys and wallet, not even bothering to change out of my pajama pants. The conference could go to hell. Those babies were alone and scared because of Scarlett's reckless entitlement. The precinct was chaos. I identified myself, and a female officer led me to a small room. Emma and Leo sat on a bench, holding hands. Emma's face was streaked with tears. Leo clutched a stuffed dinosaur like his life depended on it. "Aunt Emily!" Emma launched herself at me, sobbing into my shoulder. I held them both, fury building in my chest like a wildfire. "You're safe now. I've got you." Officer Chen appeared with paperwork. "We need to document this incident. Can you explain your relationship to these children?" "I'm their maternal aunt. Their mother is my sister." "And where is their mother?" "I have no idea." The admission tasted bitter. "She asked me to babysit this weekend. I told her no because I had work obligations. I had no knowledge she planned to send them anywhere." Officer Chen's expression hardened. "So she sent 2 minors alone in a taxi without confirming someone would be there to receive them? Apparently, that's child endangerment. We'll need to file a report." My phone buzzed. "Scarlett." I declined the call. It rang again immediately. "You should probably answer that," Officer Chen suggested. I picked up. "What the hell did you do?" "Finally." "Where are my kids?" "The taxi driver said he dropped them off hours ago. They're at a police station because you put them in a cab to an address that doesn't exist." Silence. "Then, what are you talking about?" "I sent them to your apartment. I live at 847 West Riverside Drive, apartment 12C. You wrote down 847 Riverside Drive with no east or west designation. The driver took them to a completely different building on the other side of town. One that doesn't even have a 12C. Did you even verify the address before you shoved your children into a taxi alone? And what taxi company accepts unaccompanied minors without questioning it? Don't you dare lecture me. This is your fault for not agreeing to help." Officer Chen held out her hand for my phone. I gave it to her. "Mrs. Brennan, this is Officer David Chen with the Los Angeles Police Department. Your children were found abandoned on the sidewalk in Chicago. We're filing a child endangerment report. You need to return to the city immediately." I couldn't hear Scarlett's response, but the officer's expression suggested it wasn't cooperative. "That's not optional, ma'am. If you fail to return within 24 hours, we'll be forwarding this case to Child Protective Services." She ended the call and handed back my phone. The next several hours involved statements, paperwork, and phone calls. I contacted Michael directly. He was horrified. He'd been told I had agreed to watch the kids and Scarlett had arranged everything properly. "I never would have gone along with this if I'd known," he said, voice tight with anger. "We're coming back right now." Helen called next, screeching about how I was tearing the family apart. "Your daughter put 2 children in a taxi to a wrong address and left them on a street corner alone in Los Angeles," I said flatly. "I'm not the villain here. You refused to help. What was she supposed to do? Find a responsible babysitter? Hire a service? Cancel her trip? Literally anything except endanger her own children? You've always been jealous of Scarlett." I hung up. The Child Protective Services investigation launched within 48 hours. Caseworker Sarah Jenkins contacted me. I provided everything: phone records showing Scarlett's demands and my refusal, the police report, witness statements from the neighbors, and the taxi company's records. Nathan filed for divorce 3 weeks later. He hired attorney Eleanor Vance and sought primary custody, with the police report becoming Exhibit A. Scarlett spiraled. She called me screaming, blaming me for destroying her marriage and turning everyone against her. Helen backed her up, naturally, sending long texts about family loyalty and forgiveness. "Those children could have been taken," I texted back. "There is no forgiving that level of recklessness." Richard called, which was rare. "Your mother is very upset. Scarlett endangered her own children because I wouldn't drop everything for her convenience. I have nothing to apologize for. She made a mistake. She made a choice. Mistakes are accidents. This was deliberate disregard for her children's safety. He sighed heavily. Your sister needs support right now. Her children needed protection. That's more important. The custody battle stretched over 4 months. Michael's attorney was ruthless, documenting every instance of Scarlett's neglect, leaving Leo in a hot car, forgetting Emma at school because of a hair appointment, letting them play unsupervised near a busy street while she took selfies. My life became consumed by legal proceedings and family warfare. Helen launched a full-scale campaign against me, calling every relative to spin her version. I was a bitter, childless woman who had weaponized one mistake to steal my sister's children out of jealousy. Aunt Susan, Helen's younger sister, called me one evening. Your mother is beside herself. She can barely get out of bed. Her grandchildren were left alone on a Chicago street corner, I replied. Maybe her priorities are misplaced. Scarlett said you refused to help out of spite. Scarlett asked me to babysit with an hour's notice. I had work commitments. I said no, which is my right as an adult with my own life. She then committed a crime by endangering her children. Family helps family, Emily. Family doesn't endanger children. There's a difference between helping and being bulldozed. Aunt Susan hung up. She wasn't the last. I received countless messages from cousins and old friends. All of them had been fed Scarlett's version. I stopped defending myself. The people who mattered knew the truth. My job became a refuge. My supervisor, Rachel Lee, called me into her office. Everything okay? You seem stressed. I gave her the abbreviated version. Her expression shifted from concern to outrage. She put kids in a cab to a wrong address? And now you're the villain for reporting it? That's insane. You potentially saved those kids' lives. Rachel leaned back. Take whatever time you need for court dates or meetings. We'll work around it. That kindness meant everything when my own family treated me like a pariah. The preliminary custody hearing happened on a gray October morning. Attorney Eleanor Vance had prepared me. Scarlett's team will try to discredit you. They'll suggest you're exaggerating. Stay calm, stick to facts. The courthouse was all marble floors and echoing hallways. Scarlett arrived with her attorney, a man in an expensive suit. She wouldn't look at me. Michael squeezed my shoulder. Thank you for doing this. Those are my niece and nephew. I'd walk through fire for them. The hearing was brutal. Scarlett's attorney painted her as a devoted mother who'd made an error in judgment. He emphasized her volunteer work, her involvement, the stable home. When Eleanor called me to testify, Scarlett's attorney objected to nearly everything. Judge Ava Thompson, a stern woman in her 60s, overruled most objections. Ms. Mitchell, please describe the events of October 15th. I walked through it methodically: the conference, Scarlett's last-minute demand, my refusal, Officer Chen's call, finding Emma and Leo terrified. Did Mrs. Brennan confirm your address before sending the children? No. If she had, she would have realized the address doesn't exist as she wrote it down. Did she inform you she was sending them despite your refusal? No. I had no knowledge they were coming until the police called. Scarlett's attorney stood for cross-examination. Miss Mitchell, isn't it true that you've always resented your sister's success? No. You're not jealous that she has a family while you're single and childless? Eleanor objected. Judge Thompson sustained it. Counsel, stick to relevant questions. Miss Mitchell, how many times have you watched your niece and nephew in the past? Dozens of times over the years. So, you've established a pattern of helping your sister with childcare. And on this occasion, you chose work over family. I chose a professional commitment I'd made months in advance over a last-minute demand that ignored my clearly stated boundaries. He tried several more angles, all trying to frame me as unreasonable. But the police report was damning. Officer Chen's testimony about finding 2 small children abandoned was worse. The taxi company's records sealed it. Judge Thompson ordered a full custody evaluation. These are serious allegations. I want a comprehensive assessment. The evaluation took 6 weeks. Michael and Scarlett underwent assessments, home visits, interviews. The kids were interviewed separately by a child psychologist. Emma later told me what they asked. She wanted to know if we felt safe with Mom. She told them about Leo in the car with the child locks on. Leo told them about an incident at a playground where Scarlett had been so absorbed in her phone that he'd climbed high and fallen, breaking his arm. Scarlett's version had been seconds of distraction. Leo's made it clear it was nearly 15 minutes. The evaluator's report was devastating for Scarlett. It documented a pattern of neglect, prioritization of her wants over the children's needs, and minimal awareness of supervision requirements. The taxi incident was labeled as demonstrating severe lapses in judgment and disregard for child safety. I received a subpoena for the final custody hearing. Michael's parents, Brenda and George, flew in from Texas. Brenda hugged me. Michael told us everything you did. Thank you for protecting our grandbabies. George shook my hand firmly. Takes guts to stand up to family. We're grateful. Their support bolstered me. This wasn't about revenge, it was about 2 vulnerable children. Scarlett took the stand first. Her attorney had coached her well. She cried, spoke of loving her children, insisted the taxi incident was a one-time mistake born of desperation. I thought I was sending them to my sister's apartment, she said tearfully. It was a terrible error, and I'll regret it for the rest of my life. Mrs. Brennan, can you speak to the other incidents mentioned in the evaluation report? Eleanor asked during cross. Those are misunderstandings or exaggerations. The car incident was less than 5 minutes while I ran into a store. The playground fall was an accident that could happen to any parent. I'm being crucified for normal parenting challenges. You left a 5-year-old locked in a car in 70-degree weather for what emergency services records indicate was actually 18 minutes. Scarlett's composure cracked. I lost track of time. People make mistakes. These aren't mistakes, Mrs. Brennan. They're patterns. A mistake is forgetting to pack a lunch. Leaving a child trapped in a hot vehicle is negligence. When I testified again, I focused on specific incidents I'd witnessed firsthand: Scarlett showing up 2 hours late to pick up the kids because of a massage, bailing on the zoo for brunch, countless instances where she treated them as inconveniences. Do you believe your sister is incapable of caring for her children? Scarlett's attorney asked during cross. I believe she's capable but unwilling to prioritize them over her own desires. That makes her dangerous to their well-being. That's quite an accusation against your own sister. It's an observation based on years of watching her treat those kids as accessories to her lifestyle rather than human beings who depend on her for their survival. Judge Thompson's ruling came 3 weeks later. Michael got primary physical custody. Scarlett received supervised visitation pending completion of parenting courses and psychological counseling. The judge's opinion cited a demonstrable pattern of neglect and a fundamental failure to prioritize child safety. The supervised visits would be monitored by Mr. Thomas Reed, a professional, who Michael hired. Scarlett blamed me for all of it. Helen stopped speaking to me entirely. Richard would occasionally send brief texts. The family unit had fractured. Scarlett's social circle turned on her. Other mothers knew. She was excluded from playdate groups and PTA committees. She blamed me for that too, naturally, as if I controlled how parents reacted to learning she'd endangered her own children. My coworker, Sarah, stopped by my desk. I saw you mentioned in some Facebook group, parents talking about a custody case. My stomach sank. Just that someone local had lost custody for child endangerment. No names mentioned, but the details were specific enough. Look, I know you've been dealing with family stuff. If anyone here gives you grief, let me know. The speculation didn't bother me. The court documents were public. What mattered was Emma and Leo were safe. Michael invited me to dinner that first week after getting primary custody. His apartment looked different, more organized. He'd set up routines. They're adjusting better than I expected, he said. Emma seems more relaxed. Leo's sleeping through the night. They know they're safe now. Scarlett's attorney is already filing motions to modify the visitation order. She wants unsupervised time. Already? She hasn't even started the mandated counseling. I know. Eleanor says it won't go anywhere, but it's going to be a constant battle. He ran a hand through his hair. I need to ask you something. Would you be willing to be listed as an emergency guardian? If something happens to me, I want to make sure the kids don't default back to Scarlett. The weight of his request settled over me. You're sure? That's a huge responsibility. You're the only person I trust completely. You've already proven you'll put their safety above everything else. Then yes. Absolutely yes. We completed the paperwork that week. Helen found out somehow and left a voicemail dripping with venom. You're trying to steal those children permanently. What kind of monster turns against her own blood? The kind who watched those same children nearly become trafficking statistics because their mother couldn't be bothered to write down a complete address, I thought. I deleted the message. Work became my sanctuary. I threw myself into projects. Rachel recommended me for a promotion. You've been through hell, she told me during our celebratory lunch. But you've never let it affect your work quality. That's impressive. Work was the one place performance was based on merit, not manipulation. Supervised visitation started 2 months after the ruling. Michael hired Mr. Thomas Reed, a retired social worker. Emma told me about the first visit. Mom cried a lot. She kept saying the mean judge didn't understand and that Dad was turning us against her. How did that make you feel? Confused. We're not against her. We just want her to be safe with us. Mr. Reed told her she needed to focus on activities with us instead of talking about the court case. The pattern continued. Scarlett showed up for her hours but either complained or was too distracted. Mr. Reed's reports noted she was physically present but emotionally disconnected. Michael shared the reports. This isn't getting better. If anything, she's getting worse. What does Eleanor say? That it strengthens our case if she tries to modify custody, but it also means the kids aren't getting the relationship with their mother that they deserve. That was the tragedy. Emma and Leo loved Scarlett despite her flaws. They wanted a mother who would show up for them, prioritize their needs, demonstrate growth. Instead, they got someone still playing the victim. Scarlett's parenting classes were twice weekly for 12 weeks. She missed 4 sessions in the first month. The coordinator warned her. She started attending more regularly, but her participation was minimal. The instructor's notes mentioned resistance to feedback. Her psychological evaluation was even more concerning, describing narcissistic tendencies with poor insight and limited empathy for her children's emotional needs. The recommendation was for ongoing therapy for a minimum of 6 months before unsupervised visitation. Scarlett called me after receiving that report. Are you happy now? They're calling me a narcissist who can't love her own children. They're calling you someone who needs help. There's a difference. This is all your fault. If you just watched them that weekend, none of this would have happened. If you'd accepted my no like an adult, none of this would have happened. If you'd verified an address before sending children alone across the city, none of this would have happened. If you'd prioritized their safety over your vacation, none of this would have happened. You made choices, Scarlett. These are the consequences. I hate you. I can live with that. She hung up. Richard called 20 minutes later. Your sister is devastated. Your grandchildren could have been taken. I'm not sure why everyone keeps losing sight of that fact. Nobody's losing sight of anything, but she's trying to get better. Can't you acknowledge that? She's going through motions because a court ordered her to. That's not the same as genuine change. When she starts showing actual insight and accountability, I'll acknowledge progress. The months dragged on. Scarlett completed her parenting classes with minimal passing scores. She attended therapy but showed limited engagement. Her supervised visitations remained inconsistent. I started taking the kids one weekend a month to give Michael a break. We'd go to museums, catch movies, play board games. Those weekends became highlights for all of us. During one visit, Leo asked me, Aunt Emily, why doesn't Mom like us as much as she likes her friends? Oh, buddy, she loves you very much. Then why does she always look at her phone instead of playing with us? And why did she put us in that taxi alone? I was really scared. I pulled him into a hug. Some adults have a hard time showing love in the right ways. That's not your fault or about how lovable you are. It's about stuff she needs to work on inside herself. Are you going to send us away, too? Never. I will always be here for you and your sister. That's a promise. Emma, who'd been pretending not to listen, joined the hug. We know, Aunt Emily. You're the only grown-up who doesn't break promises. One Friday evening, about 4 months after the ruling, Michael brought the kids to my apartment for dinner. The real apartment, the right address, 847 West Riverside Drive, apartment 12C. The one Scarlett had never bothered to write down completely. Aunt Emily, we made you something at school. Emma said, presenting a construction paper card covered in crayon hearts. Leo hugged my legs. We missed you. I missed you, too, buddy. Michael pulled me aside. Thank you for everything you did. I know it cost you your relationship with your parents. Those kids deserved someone to protect them. That's all that mattered. Scarlett's attorney is pushing for modified custody again. Claims she's completed all the court requirements. My stomach tightened. What do you think will happen? The judge will probably grant limited unsupervised visitation eventually. Short visits, gradually increasing if there are no incidents. He rubbed his face tiredly. I can't keep them from their mother forever, but I can make damn sure she never gets the chance to be that careless again. The modified custody arrangement went into effect 8 months after the original ruling. Scarlett was allowed unsupervised visits every other weekend, starting with daytime hours. The court kept Mr. Thomas Reed available for spot checks. I ran into Scarlett at Helen's birthday party. She looked haggard, older than her 32 years. When she saw me, her face contorted with rage. You destroyed my life. You endangered your children. I just made sure there were consequences. They're my kids. You had no right. They're human beings who deserve not to be abandoned on a street corner because you couldn't be bothered to verify an address. Helen appeared, champagne in hand. Can we please not do this today? Your golden child nearly got her kids taken because she's too selfish to be a responsible parent, I said evenly. But sure, let's pretend everything is fine. Scarlett lunged. Michael caught her arm. Don't give them more ammunition against you. I hate you, she spat. I hope you're happy now. I'm happy those kids are safe. Everything else is just noise. The party ended early. Richard walked me to my car. Your mother wants you to apologize. For what exactly? For testifying against Scarlett. for causing problems in the family. I testified truthfully about what happened. If that caused problems, Scarlett created them, not me. She's trying to get better. Therapy is helping. That's good. She should have been in therapy years ago. She's still your sister. And those are still children who could have died because she was too entitled to accept the word no. I opened my car door. I love Emma and Leo more than I need Helen's approval. That's not changing. The supervised visitation period lasted a year. Scarlett completed her courses in therapy, though Michael told me she viewed them as hoops to jump through. Eventually, the court granted her unsupervised visits 2 weekends per month. I held my breath every time the kids went to her house. Michael did, too. He'd installed tracking apps and made them promise to call if anything felt wrong. Nothing catastrophic happened, but small incidents continued, forgetting Leo's allergy medication, scheduling activities during Emma's homework, promising museums but going shopping instead. Michael documented everything. His attorney assured him they could petition for modified custody again if the pattern continued. I saw the kids regularly. Michael had me listed as an emergency contact. Emma started calling me for advice about friend drama. Leo would FaceTime me to show off Lego creations. They were thriving. That was all that mattered. Scarlett's animosity toward me never faded. Family gatherings became battlegrounds. I stopped responding. Her narrative required my participation, and I refused to give it. Helen's health declined. Lung cancer, aggressive. She refused to speak to me, even as Richard urged her to make peace. She wants Scarlett there, Richard told me. She keeps asking for her. And I'm sure Scarlett is providing wonderful support, I said, unable to keep the bitterness out. Please don't be like this. She's dying. I'm not stopping anyone, but I'm also not pretending the past didn't happen for a deathbed reconciliation Helen doesn't even want. Helen passed on a Tuesday morning. Scarlett called me shrieking that I'd taken our mother with stress and cruelty. Richard sounded tired when he asked me to please come to the funeral and try to keep the peace. I went. I sat in the back. I didn't speak to Scarlett or engage when she made a scene. I paid my respects to Richard and left. Michael texted me later. The kids wanted me to tell you they're proud of you for going. They know it was hard. That message meant more than anything Helen could have said. Life moved forward. Michael's divorce from Scarlett was finalized about 18 months later. She fought for spousal support and got a minimal amount. 2 years after that, Scarlett remarried Dr. Daniel Lewis. She had another baby, a daughter named Chloe. The court allowed regular overnight visits with Emma and Leo by then, though Michael maintained strict boundaries. I got promoted. Started dating someone who respected my time and boundaries. Built a life that wasn't centered around managing Scarlett's chaos or seeking Helen's approval. Emma graduated middle school last spring. She gave a speech as class president about resilience and the importance of standing up for what's right. She looked directly at me. After, she hugged me tight. Thank you for not letting anything bad happen to us. Always, sweetheart. No matter what. Scarlett was there with Daniel and Chloe, maintaining her distance. She looked like she wanted to say something but thought better of it. Good. We had nothing left to discuss. Leo started middle school this fall. He joined chess and debate. Michael jokes he'll be a lawyer. The kid has a sense of justice that won't quit. I took them both out for ice cream last weekend. Just us. Emma told me about a boy. Leo showed me a paper he'd written about personal heroes. He'd chosen Michael for getting primary custody and me for calling the police that Saturday morning. That's quite an honor, I said, throat tight. You saved us, he said simply. That makes you a hero. Your dad did the hard part. You did the scary part. Dad says telling the truth when family doesn't want you to is the hardest thing anyone can do. Smart kid. Michael's raising them right. Scarlett sent me a message last week. First direct contact in almost 3 years. The kids' therapist says they need me to be more present. This is your fault. They never would have needed therapy if you hadn't interfered. I blocked her number. Some people will never accept responsibility. That's their prison to live in, not mine. Richard calls occasionally. He's gotten older, frilier. He admits now he should have stood up to Helen more, protected me better. I appreciate the acknowledgement. Scarlett asks about you sometimes, he mentioned. What does she ask? If you're happy, if you ever think about reconciling. I am happy. And no, I don't think about reconciling. You can tell her I said so. She made mistakes. She made choices. There's a difference. He was quiet. You turned out stronger than any of us expected. I turned out exactly as strong as I needed to be. Sometimes I think about that Saturday morning when Officer Chin called. How my entire life pivoted on Scarlett's assumption that I'd comply, even after saying no. How she'd valued her vacation more than 2 extra minutes to write down a complete address. How close we came to tragedy because one person refused to hear boundaries. I don't regret any of it. The family fracture, the lost relationships, Helen's resentment, Scarlett's hatred, all of it was worth it because Emma and Leo are safe. They grew up knowing someone would protect them, even when it cost that person everything. That's what love actually looks like. Real love that shows up when it's hard and stays even when everyone else walks away. Emma wants me to help her shop for high school next summer. Leo asked if I'd teach him to drive. Michael invited me to Thanksgiving with his parents, who treat me like extended family. I built something better than what I lost, a chosen family that respects boundaries and values safety. A life where I'm not constantly bracing for the next crisis or demand. Scarlett can hate me forever. It changes nothing. I'll still be here when those kids need me, keeping them safe from whatever comes next, including their own mother's dysfunction if necessary. That's a promise I made in a police station all those years ago. And it's one I'll keep until the day I die. What would you have done if you got that phone call?